Coming up on News 10 at 11, our new president celebrates his hard-fought victory in the nation's capital. While some Americans aren't celebrating, they're protesting.
Snow finally works its way into our regional. Have the details coming up.
Stay with us. News 10 at 11 is next.
From WTEN Albany, the news team that's leading the way in local news coverage, on air and online. This is News 10 at 11.
And I thank Vice President Gore for a contest conducted with spirit and ended with grace.
America's new president, George W. Bush, acknowledges the difficult road he took to the White House. Good evening, everyone. I'm Walt McClure. Steve Ammerman has the night off. That road, along which what may be the closest and most controversial American election ever was played out, ended on the steps of the U.S. Capitol at noon today. After taking the oath of office as the 43rd President of the United States, his hand on the same Bible his father and George Washington used before him, George Walker Bush spoke to the country, beginning what he called an effort to build a single nation of justice and opportunity. He went on to talk about his plans to strengthen the military, improve education, and cut taxes. Tonight, the new president is out at some of the 8 official star-studded inaugural balls. For more on this day of history, let's go to Washington, D.C. and ABC's Lisa Sylvester.
George W. Bush was sworn in today using the same Bible George Washington used in 1789. And with this oath of office, he became the 43rd President of the United States.
Repeat after me. I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
That I...
George W. Bush, following the same path of history as his father, became the nation's 43rd president.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Flanked by his family, tears welled up in his eyes. The president made a special appeal to Americans to heal their differences, regardless of race, gender, or income.
I ask you to seek a common good beyond your comfort, to defend needed reforms against easy attacks, to serve your nation, beginning with your neighbor.
Just a few feet away, looking on, former Vice President Al Gore, who won the popular vote but lost the electoral vote by the slimmest of margins.
The Honorable William Jefferson Clinton.
After the swearing-in ceremony, former President Clinton and Senator Hillary Clinton said their goodbyes at a rally at Andrews Air Force Base. And as tradition, the new president and first lady paraded down Pennsylvania Avenue, greeted by a mix of supporters and protesters. And to cap off the evening, the new first couple attended 8 inaugural balls, along with Vice President Dick Cheney and his wife Lynn. A mix of pageantry and politics.
I am so honored and so humbled. I cannot wait to begin to work tomorrow. But in the meantime, we've got some dancing to do.
And so begins the second Bush presidency. President George W. Bush says when he goes to work on Monday, he will make education his first priority. Reporting live in Washington, I'm Lisa Sylvester. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Lisa. Shortly after Mr. Bush took the oath of office, 7 of his cabinet nominees were given quick confirmations by the Senate. Among them, new Secretary of State Colin Powell and Donald Rumsfeld in his second stint as Secretary of Defense. Not everyone in Washington was ready to celebrate over George W. Bush's inauguration. Thousands of demonstrators from around the country filled the streets near the Capitol and along Pennsylvania Avenue, protesting the controversial decision that gave Bush the victory. Police and Secret Service say that despite the numbers, there were only a few minor incidents. 6 people were arrested during the day. And here in the Capital Region, about 100 people demonstrated against President Bush outside the Leo O'Brien Federal Building in Albany. The protesters were members of local women's and civil rights groups, as well as labor unions, who say they are concerned about the election process and concerned a new Bush administration will take away or limit their rights. A small group also demonstrated in Pittsfield. Former President Clinton spending his first night as a private citizen at his new home in Chappaqua tonight. But before leaving Washington, he issued 140 presidential pardons. Among them, Susan McDougal, a player in the failed Whitewater land deal, jail rather than testify against the Clintons. Another Whitewater figure and Hillary Clinton's former law partner, Webster Hubbell, did not get a pardon. There was also no pardon for Leonard Peltier, serving 2 life terms for the killing of 2 FBI agents on an Indian reservation in 1975. Kidnapped heiress Patty Hearst did earn a pardon, as did the president's brother Roger, who served jail time on drug charges. Back in the capital region, a Washington County man is facing a number of charges for allegedly exposing himself. Fort Edward police say they've been investigating a number of reports about 39-year-old Spencer Vincent of Fort Edward. Vincent allegedly stood in front of his home at 110 Broadway, exposing his genitals to children and others who passed by. Vincent is being held in the Washington County Jail. And a pair of South Glens Falls men are home safe tonight after falling into the frigid waters of Lake George this morning. 36-year-old Matthew Sassone and his friend, 36-year-old David Heighton, were snowmobiling on the lake this morning when they went through a patch of thin ice. Heighton managed to get himself out, but rescue crews had to pull Sassone out. Both men were treated for hypothermia. We've got a lot more still ahead for you on News 10 at 11. Melissa's here next with the latest on the storm that's beginning to hammer downstate. And in the spotlight, Bush the father and Bush the son, making history as a family's legacy of public service continues.
Just ahead on News 10, your exclusive Doppler weather forecast. From the News 10 Doppler weather team, here's Lisa Sylvester with Weather Workshop.
The wind chill index describes how we perceive the cold. Low temperatures combined with the wind sweeping heat from our bodies. For instance, if it's 20 degrees, a wind of 20 miles per hour will make it feel like 10 below. The wind chill index was developed in the 1940s by researchers in the Antarctic. Now, many scientists question its accuracy and are developing new wind chill formulas.
Weather Workshop is brought to you by McDonald's. Steve Ammerman, Lisa Sylvester with Doppler Weather, and John Spadafora on sports. You're watching News 10 at 11.
If you're getting ready to go to bed, you may want to get the shovel handy because you're probably going to need it when you get up in the morning.
Actually, it's not going to be that bad. Nah. Although if you're down the southern Catskills and the mid-Hudson Valley and southern Berkshires, could have quite a bit of snow. But for the rest of us, it's just not going to happen. All right, here's your forecast. First overnight, 10 to 15 degrees. Snow showers heavy at times, up to 2 inches in the morning for many of